All right, good morning, everybody. Let's get started. Today, my goal is to look back at this challenge. I want to review just a couple of the questions that'll inform our conversation. And I would like to come up with what should phase one, an attainable, achievable phase one look like? And it might be in different steps. It might be step one, do this. Step two, complete this, and maybe kind of come up with a what and a when. So like we're gonna say, let's do this and let's have a reasonable timeline, especially understanding I might be the only one doing this, so go easy on me. And then we'll come up with that phase one, and then anything that doesn't neatly fit into phase one or could not be done, let's say within 6-month time period, automatically bumps down to phase two or even phase three. Like phase three would be like dream, what would we want to be way down the road? Phase two would be, hey, we have to get through this first bit, get this up and running, make sure it's working well, and we could add this other thing in. But phase one's got to be, so how could we start this based on, not just based on what we originally thought the what should be, but based on, okay, so we took the questions and the feedback and how can we come up with something that seems like a decent solution. So we did have, let me go back to the original question real quick. Actually, let's go back to that. Let's just look at the very original question that we stated that got this whole thing running. It comes up here. There we go. All right, so we had this question that we had an idea that there might be a need. We weren't sure, but that there might be a need for our students and our community. So the challenge that we thought was, how might we increase student and local community value through work relationships? We kind of, as we hashed it out initially, we realized that it's not about just the jobs, because jobs are easy to find. And there's already some great systems that there's no reason for us to duplicate. We don't need to compete with job search websites. We don't need to compete with Facebook Marketplace or things like that, or even with word of mouth. So it can't just be about the jobs for either the employers or the students. So that's not really where the opportunity ended up showing itself. The opportunity ended up showing itself in these things. Like what we theorized was, hey, maybe we could offer some things that make the value, not that there's not already value there, but how can we increase that value by offering some things that would help? So we had all these survey questions and we got a lot of good feedback. And I'm going to send this all to the administration here pretty soon, but we'll get down to the questions. And it was a good cross section, a little bit more ladies than guys answering, but that just might be the type of people that answer surveys are more ladies than guys. It might not be that there are less guys necessarily, but half of the people are working off campus part-time, half of the people that took the survey at least. So that's good. That kind of validates it. And only, 1 out of 7 were from the greater Des Moines area. So that means there's an opportunity. 6 out of 7 probably don't know Des Moines as well as, those of us that are from here do. So they don't know it as well as I do, let's just say that. They don't know the job opportunities as well. They don't know the way around. They don't know where to go necessarily. So, and then as far as like the long term, most of the people are at least willing to stay in the area. Let's see here. So you got the maybes, the depending on what happens, they don't plan. We only had, what was it here? Sorry, that's the second chart. There we go. We only had 20% say no, not plan to stay in Des Moines.
And let's say you had 90% that said no. It doesn't mean that we shouldn't pursue it. It just might mean that we take a different approach. Like if we believe that the data and our whole reason for doing it is worthwhile, even if you helped 10% or 20%, or if part of it was swaying that other 80% that said no to stay or consider staying. So you kind of change what you're actually trying to do. So anyway, but this is going to be easy because you got a lot of people that at least would consider it for the long term. So if part of this has a long-term impact, we have at least enough of an audience to consider it. The preparedness, we have an expectation. So most people believe that they should be prepared to go to work when they're done at college. Almost everyone was in that 8, 9, and 10 category of like, yeah, if I'm not prepared, something's not right. But as far as how do they actually feel right now? Largest number was at 7, but really you got a good amount of people that are in the 6 and below. So this group right here is probably the group we're targeting. So it just affects the way we say things. And it kind of justifies some of the stuff we're going to do. So this chart was a little messed up and it's hard to read, but basically, so what job skills? This was the thing that I wanted to talk about. So I want to talk about, is everyone with me? Is everyone exhausted? I'm sorry. Sorry if you had to stay up till 3 a.m. sitting in the bathtub, with like a flashlight so you don't get demerits or whatever it is. You guys get in trouble if you're like working late on stuff? Oh, well, I've been feeling bad for you all morning. Okay, well, I
get yelled at.
Oh, yeah. Josiah's like, turn on the light, Paul.
Yeah, he's in seminary. He doesn't have that much work.
Okay. Yeah. And he works here, so he doesn't get paid either. So, okay. So here you go. This is what I think we need to crisscross, and I need you guys to be thinking. Types of skills people are interested in. Okay, types of skills combined with types of industry or business they'd be interested in working in. So types of skills, types of business. And that's really the main thing because we kind of have the background already. So when it comes to types of skills, this really is kind of messed up right here. But what it came out to be was resume was the number 2 thing, work-related conflict, and job interview, and how to find a job, a good job. How to find a job, how to do the job interview, how to do your resume. So those 3 are all onboarding things, and how to handle workplace conflict. So you got 3 things that really group together nicely, right? That could be like a 1, 2, 3. Get your resume together, learn how to do a job interview, and then go out. Where do you find a good job in the area? Those are great little onboarding things. And then you have this workplace conflict one, which is a broader audience, right? I mean, every faculty and staff member could use that. Every person. I don't know, are any of you in my history and theology leadership class this semester? No, okay. So most of you took that last semester or last year. We just talked about conflict and biblical handling of conflict and things like that. But it's a universal quality that no matter where you go to work. So those 4 things are definitely on the top of people's minds. And then there's a bunch of other stuff too. There's problem solving stuff, but let's keep it kind of simple. Then 90% would be at least willing to complete a workshop. So without being too leading, we are funneling people into a more specific approach. So if you did this, and if you did this, and if this is true about you, how do you feel about this? How do you feel about a workshop? Only 10% really said they wouldn't be interested in doing a workshop. About 60%, maybe if it's the right workshop. 30%, yes, definitely, I would do a workshop. So even if we got 30% of, 1/3 of student body responded, that's 30 people. If we had 30 people sitting in a workshop, that would be the biggest win of the year, right? So, but you have this other big group that might even be interested. So here's the thing. So we have the the three things, could someone write that down so before I forget? Write down here, I'll go to you, Krista. You write down the 4 skills that people are interested in. Resume, sorry, I gotta use my pen. Resume writing, job interview, finding jobs, and conflict in the workplace. So those are the 4 skills. Now we need to see, okay, and where are they planning to work? So if we're gonna do something, we gotta cater it to where they're planning to work, because that is what will draw those maybes in. A lot of people, they don't know where they're gonna be. That's probably why we have such a diverse amount of if you do the math, and you add 26 plus 41 plus 65 plus 22 plus, that means that very few people only checked one thing, like, ooh, I know I'm gonna be in ministry, or I know I'm gonna go do real estate. Many people probably checked multiple boxes. That's why we have, 800% up here. So we have 26% of all the people that took the survey said they might be interested in retail. So during college, so this is during college, right? But we do know that during college could lead to career. So we can assume that if we're helping them in college, we might be helping them in the long term as well. So the top industries that people might work in, even while they're in college, would be, if you wouldn't mind writing this one down too, Krista, church ministry. So, we know that people are interested in that. So can we, whatever we do, could we have an aspect where if they're helping at their church, even if it's a part-time role, would that be? Now, I might not ask the question very well, and maybe that's why there's so many people that checked off ministry, because we're all doing Christian service and things like that. So it might be that that's an outlier. But let's look at the next ones. Fast food, coffee shops. Fast food and coffee shops. The next one is business general, so kind of a general business thing. And then the next one would be retail. So retail, and then the next one would be, let's see, we got a couple others there. So, but what areas of local employment during college are you interested in? Some would like to work at a Christian school too, but I think that, I don't know how that would even, if we have anyone that actually gets to do that. So let's focus on the ones that are, we'll do the general ministry one, because that would capture any other nonprofit. People might have marked nonprofit and ministry and Christian education, hoping that they could just get some kind of way to work in ministry. But the other ones, the retail, business general, coffee shops, those are all going to be ones that we can aim for. So with that, let's go to, so now let's kind of come up with a little plan here. Add a new, this just pulls up. That's good. So now let's do, what is this going to look like? So let me write well, I don't want to have to rewrite what Chris has already written. We have a general idea of what's going to happen here. We know that most people would at least consider doing a workshop if the workshop had to do with finding a job, writing a resume, doing a job interview, and handling conflict in the workplace. So most people are at least willing to consider a workshop in that. And then if we do a workshop, most people are looking to work while they're here in retail, business, coffee shops, fast food, or some type of ministry, broad ministry thing. So that being said, what should we do then? So I think what is going to work is, I think we need to be thinking in step one, something having to do with training. So we use the word workshop in the survey, but this could be a lot of different things. So what do you guys think the first few steps need to be? And you could give me a step to put up here, and then we could reorder it later even. And then you could also say, hey, I remember from our original idea or from our brainstorming, we had another idea, it was really solid, but obviously it's not going to fit in phase one. We could come up with phase two, phase three. So I'm going to just kind of do a a little. So what we'll do is this is going to be phase 1, 2, and 3. And it's impossible to really come up with the different steps in phases 2 and 3 because we just don't know. But we can do step 1, step 2, and step 3 if there are 3 steps needed. We don't have to make it like a Baptist sermon, make them all alliterated and stuff like that. Okay, so before we get to the steps, let's kind of just get some ideas up on the board and then we'll sort it and put it back up. So what do you guys think should go into phase 1 of this idea? I mean, you can, and really this is another brainstorm session, just throw stuff out there. If you have a name for what this should be, if you have a, I think we're heading a certain direction. So, but if you have something that's bigger than what we can accomplish, we could put it down the road. Yeah.
Probably like the workshops and stuff.
Yeah. It seems like that's kind of the obvious place that we could make an impact at least. Yeah.
Maybe compiling a list of suitable employers in the area, sort of like our list of churches.
So
Then a
it's
black
almost like a
list.
directory of employers.
Yeah, but then also have a directory that you can't go to.
Yeah, forbidden. Don't go here. Culver's, don't go there. All teenagers and the tables are so sticky. Okay, anyway. What else?
I think kind of in prep for the workshops and that list is just like getting to know the businesses and the business owners and managers and stuff like that, having some sort of connection. I think for the workshops it'd be super helpful to have like guest speakers, especially like HR reps or managers, something like that. They could tell you what they're looking for in an interview candidate or in a resume, what looks good to them. That helped us a lot growing up. We had a HR lady in our church and she actually helped people develop a resume based on what she looks for. And so that was really helpful.
Like HR.
Or even for like conflict resolution, managers can share what they encourage or want to see in employees through conflict.
Yeah, then they're getting a different voice. I have found that, I mean, in my own life, you could have the same person you hear all the time say something. I mean, this is what happens in churches all the time. Pastor preaches every Sunday and it's really good. And then you have someone come in as a special speaker for, some kind of special seminar and you're like, whoa, that's the most brilliant thing I ever heard. And the pastor's like, I've been saying this every Sunday, but that's why kids go to camp, so they can hear brilliant speakers that say the same thing everyone else is already saying. All right, what else?
Maybe kind of like what Daniel was saying, but maybe do something like what we did with students, send out a survey to the directory of employers to find specifically what types of things they're looking for, to kind of help us understand what they're actually looking for, and maybe not just target things that we think they're looking for.
And that ties back into the original challenge because we wanted to add value in both sides of the relationship. We don't want the relationship to be, hey, what helps our students? How can our students get value out of this? It's like, we also want to, so the standard response for any human being usually is, what's in it for me? Christians respond this way. Now, of course, we should be altruistic and just be willing to just give and give and give and do things at our own cost. But the truth is, we're taking valuable time. We're asking them to do something. So in this transactional relationship with employers, we'd like to go beyond just transaction and go to like a true, genuine relationship. And by asking them, what do you need? We're actually practicing empathy, which makes us great leaders and servant leaders. And so we empathize with them, say, hey, tell us, we don't know what it's like to be in your shoes. If we were in your shoes, what would we be looking for? And I guarantee most people want to tell you what they're looking for, right? So this has got to be a win for them. come across someone that just like, we don't need it, we don't want it, no problem. We're not gonna beg people to participate with us. We don't have that many students to send anyway. So there's gotta be kind of a screening, right? So we have 100 potential, 200 potential students that might work off campus every year. You know, a few of them are gonna stay in the area after they graduate or work through the summer. You know, we don't necessarily need 300 employers. You know, we could use 30 great ones. So maybe we screen them out by, you know, figuring out if they want to offer this kind of information or not. What else? Yeah.
This probably doesn't go on this stage, but have a list of students who have worked in local businesses and then also put them into contact with students who are looking to work at those same businesses to give them a good picture of what it was like.
So have students that are, so let's say someone that graduated, they stay in the area and they're working. You're saying get that on a separate directory so that we can, what would we be doing? Polling those students to find out, do they like working there? Or are we, what would be the purpose of getting that
So
information?
if you had somebody who, ideally, it would be somebody who's already come through this program, so they understand it and they're on board with it. But if it's somebody who's worked at, say, Culver's, something like that, and we have a student who's looking at working at Culver's, we could say, hey, on our list, it says that, you know, Mark went, he worked at Culver's. We'll put you in contact with him. You can ask him any questions that you want to or something like that.
Student, former student. I'm learning to call people that used to be here former students because not everyone graduates from here. They might go here a year and switch to DMAC. They might go here and, you know, move on for another reason. So former student employees as reps of the businesses. It's kind of like the Google review, you know, you're like getting, you know, their real feedback. A lot of job sites do this, Glassdoor jobs, and Indeed. You can see people that have worked there, what they say about it. So this would be a little more personal. So another thing that might be a future thing with this, you could also have, I don't think this is just my term, but it might be. I might be combining two things, but brand evangelists. Basically, you might have someone that they work somewhere. They might not be in the leadership position where it's their place to hire people. You know, this group's gonna get smaller and smaller the higher we're looking for in leadership. But a brand evangelist, they work at, you know, John's, you know, plant nursery over here. And they're a former student from here. They love it there. And that place is always hiring. They're not the one actually doing the hiring, but they're a brand evangelist. They're literally going out looking for people to come work there because they love it and they think it would fit, especially if they're someone that was in our program. So they be a brand evangelist for the place. And those kind of people make this side of the job a lot easier. What else? All right, we don't have to beat this to death. This is, you know, as I think it's Dick Vitale said, it's not rocket surgery. Okay, so that being said, that's a joke. There is no rocket surgery. It's rocket science or brain surgery. When you mix the metaphors, rocket surgery. But if you said brain science, that actually still is a thing. Anyway, let's go like this. Okay. So if we were to just kind of simply, let's get this to a landing spot. So it looks like phase one, so these are the phases. Phase one is going to be workshop and everything related to workshops. So I think these are the things. So maybe this actually compiling the list of employers would be step one, because we got to know who to reach out to. And then step two might be, and that would involve also, as we contact them and get them, finding out what they're looking for. So I think that all can fit neatly into step one. This is very doable. This is something I could do over the next month or two. Step two, at the same time that we are Well, you know what? Step two would probably be actually scheduling the workshops, right? Getting them on the calendar. And so I'm a very ambitious person. So I think, oh, it'd be awesome to do one of these a month. But then reality sits in, it's like, I don't want to give up, more Saturdays, more evenings and stuff. So dial it back to reality. What if we were able to do one workshop 2 times next semester? Where it's like the same workshop at 2 different times, because you never get everyone because of work and sports and sicknesses and stuff. But what if we did the same workshop 2 times? Also, then what we do is we build demand, which is really good. So you say, hey, we're going to cap this at 20 people. And, so as people sign up, we say, hey, you can sign up for one or the other, but when it fills up, then if there's a high demand, we could always add something. We could add another time, or we could move to a different room. But it'd be nice if we're doing a workshop to do it in our best room and not throw everyone into gray 100 or whatever that's called. So, okay, so we compile the directory, we get the workshops on the calendar, and then when we know they're set, we start scheduling people. I've already talked to a number of our business contacts, said, would you ever be interested in doing a workshop on entrepreneurship or on risk management? I had a guy that was supposed to be here last year during the MAACS conference, and we were going to do all of my students meeting with him to talk about risk management. And because the Bible Academic Fine Arts thing got canceled, he couldn't come. But I think it'd be easy to book them once we know that there's something. Then we take these other, I think this would be very easy to do phase 2. So if this is already working, then we go out and we start looking for better contacts. So we're willing to kind of take anyone in the first round. But then when we get to this phase 2, then we're really starting to see, okay, over time, we're going to hear from more and more people that used to be students here that are working out there. How can we get them engaged in this? And then, if this was to continue, we kind of got to look at the ideal. So 3-4 years from now, some of you will still be in the area working, and you'll be the ones coming in and doing the recruiting for people to come work where you work, or at least talking it up. Phase 3 might be all the other things that we talked about. So we had talked about what were some of the other ideas that we had in our brainstorming that don't fit into the workshop category, but that we thought were pretty good ideas for the future. You guys remember any of them? Job fair. And this might be able to happen sooner. And I'm going to put a little star up here to come back to something here in a minute, so don't forget. Yeah.
I think we said adding like internships and stuff for ministries, not just businesses.
Well, and our survey showed that half of our people are thinking ministry, not business.
Would phase 3 be to like the job office thing that we're talking about?
Yeah, so a physical office, physical meaning as opposed to just a title, but there's a place for it, even if it moves around.
So I think it'd be kind of cool for people like to practice their what they learn on the resume, or like their interviewing skills, practice it on somebody.
Yeah.
That's in the job office.
And we're pretty clever to come up with this. We're very smart. But you know what? There's a lot of places probably already doing this even better than our little idea on a whiteboard. Universities that have 20,000 students, they probably have a whole department that does this, because the reason why so many people in Iowa have vanity plates that say Iowa State or Iowa University or NIU or whatever is because they build like almost a cult-like loyalty to their college by offering maybe not this exact thing, but something like this, so that someone that has a Iowa State license plate will literally buy something from someone else that has an Iowa State license plate. It's just kind of implied. And so it starts within the college culture of doing things where college students are helping college students. It implies that, hey, we're going to continue to help each other. We are building our network. So think if someone, when you come in at 19 years old, was a cool college senior that seems to have it all together, even though they're pretending, they sit down with you and they say, hey, let's practice a job interview. Let's break the ice. Let's help you kind of get through this scary thing. Man, you got a friend for life, and you got someone that has been there. So, I mean, that could be a very powerful thing in people's lives. And we're kind of in the life-changing business. You know, we just happen to be talking about jobs. What an opportunity. I could see the administration looking at phase 3 and saying, no, we want phase 3 to happen sooner. You know, that might be there because it helps accomplish the mission that they're seeing. So by putting it all out there, it kind of excites their imagination too. So what else? We had a web aspect to this. Matter of fact, that seemed like a strong contender in the beginning because we all were heading that way. I think that the greater need, so that's almost like a scaffolding. So when it's small, you don't really need a real complicated structure. But when it gets bigger, you're going to have to put scaffolding around it so it doesn't tip over. And I think that's where the web and applications of whatever, however that's going to look, it'll have to be part of it. But you probably have to have an office and someone kind of maintaining that so you don't shoot yourself in the foot. A directory can be an Excel spreadsheet. There's no, all there is updating. There's no interaction, right? What else was on the big idea list? I can't remember. This is a pretty good start, honestly. So what do you think would be a reasonable time frame for phase 1? Phase 1 being compiling a directory of employers and surveying what they're looking for, then scheduling a couple workshops, and then getting guest speakers to come in and speak. What would you say would be a fair time frame? And let's say that we're planning on doing the same workshop 2 times. Think we could get it all done in 1 semester? Would it be something that, I hate to lose momentum by saying, oh, let's wait till next fall, because that's kind of a common thing in colleges. Well, we can't do it this semester. Let's do it next year. And what happens is next year you totally forget about it, and then it's and the best ideas kind of die before they ever get going. So even if we had limited success, it would be kind of fun to roll it out in the, sooner rather than later. But if it would really be awesome in the fall, then maybe we promote it and get everything set in the first, the next couple months, and then the fall really hit it hard. So what do you guys think about that? Do you think there's a value in trying to roll it out in the springtime, or do you recommend doing it in the fall? Let's just go around the room. I'll just get spring or fall, Jared. What do you think?
Well, depends on how much we can pull this together into an actual workable, helpful program. I'm leaning more towards fall, just because that'll give us the beginning of a whole new year to kind of start off with. Kind of goes with the flow of things as things transition more into a new set of students, a new year. If you did do something in the spring, I would say do something as a test run, not actually roll it out.
Okay. All right, Max, what do you think, spring or fall?
I'll probably lean more towards spring.
Did you say that just because Jared said fall?
Just to go
being-
against Jared.
You're contrarian.
Nice, right.
They haven't intended conflict resolution yet, so it could be dangerous.
But
Why spring?
I think, like you said, you could, even if it's just you putting together a list of businesses and creating a survey. I mean, it doesn't take that long to make a survey. And you have a lot of connections already in the community, so it wouldn't take too long to just reach out and send a couple emails and say, hey, this is what we're looking at. I think the longest part would just be the workshops and putting the content together for that.
Yeah.
And that can be, that doesn't have to be just you. And that can be.
And that part doesn't intimidate me at all. Like putting together content for a workshop, because the way workshops works is, if you have a guest speaker, they're bringing their own content. You're just giving them a couple bullet points that you want to make sure you're doing. Some part of it is conversation, right? You're getting feedback from everyone. And some part of it is just the most common information that you can go out there and find easily. Like I hate recreating the wheel. So if there's someone that's already done something well, I'll use their basic outline and try and just build on that, customize it. So, but I agree that it will take time, but I happen to have probably the time that I could do that more than maybe other things. So,
Even if, like you said, doing it a couple times a semester, even if by the first time it's halfway through the semester, you do another one
Yeah.
at the end, so way some of the graduating students can
yeah.
utilize some of that, and then maybe, like we've been talking about, get some feedback from that. So that way you could figure out what you can do better, and then in the fall, maybe you offer more than just one workshop, but you take the feedback of what you got from these 2 workshops from the spring and to use as kind of a better framework of how to structure future workshops.
Great. Joe, what do you think? Spring or fall?
Spring, I think I agree with all of that. I don't think it has to be like completely all of that stuff in phase 1 in spring, but at least some capacity to it, just so that, like, as you said, it's not gonna get forgotten. We're gonna put it off. But yeah, I'd say probably the workshops, and even if you just do one, it's still like we're getting our foot in the door to keep doing it. And then, yeah, like Max said, you already know a lot of people, so the directory wouldn't be too hard. And like the workshops, a lot of that stuff, I feel like we've already learned in these classes, like the conflict resolution and stuff, like it's in the books that we've read and everything. So you just have to pull like some of that content out that in the assignments that you already put, and it wouldn't be that hard.
Yeah. Great. Okay. All right. And I'm sorry, I know we're short on time, so I'm just gonna go quickly. Spring or fall, Noah?
Spring.
All right. If you have something like revolutionary, please add it in. But if not, I'm just gonna keep going. Alyssa, spring or fall?
I'd say try to fully bring it out in fall, but maybe start something small in the spring just to get it kind of moving in that direction.
Oh, I'll put that as a spring vote. All right, Emmy. All right, Daniel.
I'd probably say spring, and I don't want to repeat anything, but mostly just because if we don't roll anything out, it might be kind of hard to just come in full in the fall with something, even if we had it fully developed. And also it's hard to do, I guess phase 3 is kind of farther in it. But you gotta give them like a taste or something of what it's like. So I feel like if you don't give a taste at all, people have no idea what we have to offer for them in the fall.
Great. Okay.
I'd say spring and just do like a workshop for like resume and job skills, like keep it simple since people are graduating or going into summer, like give them those basic skills. And then roll into like a job fair or something in the fall.
All right. Krista, what do you think?
I also think spring, and kind of what Katie said, keeping something that can be useful as they're going into the summer for like summer job interviews.
So you could literally plan this around knowing where people are at. Maybe one right before spring break, and then learn from that one, and one right before people leave to help them. Maybe we could work out something with student life where people got a great job in the area and they want to stay in the area and work. They can stay in the dorm for, whatever they find, a place to stay here. Okay, so what I think this has turned into, so this is done. We're done with this. I got to take this and do something with it. I think that the spring, Jared, I appreciate your feedback, but you got outvoted like big time.
That's fine. You
got dunked. They dunked on you. So, I mean, I don't know. We could order a recount. Is this the state of Michigan? Sorry. Spring could be the prototype. So when we're thinking about design thinking, we test, we come out with the first version of it, kind of the minimum viable product is that first workshop. And then we get feedback off of that before we come out with a better one and a better one. And then maybe next fall, re-examine the why and make sure that, okay, now we've done 2 or 3 of these. Are we really hitting it? Has anything changed? We kind of go through the process again. So I think we have what it needs to look like. So I'll keep you guys posted on it. I might tap into you, even if you're not in any of my classes, when we offer this, or it doesn't coordinate with something that's part of your main studies. I might ask you to help me with it. If we put a workshop on, you come in, help me do the fun parts, like serve coffee and donuts and things like that. So I'll keep you in the loop, and I'm gonna put this all in kind of a final after action feedback report that I can present to the administration and also give back to the guys at Biz Lab so they kind of know how we finished it. I've been talking to Orbiz over at the Guam Public Schools, the couple of the guys that run the Orbiz program, which is like a business mentoring program. A couple of them are believers, and they already do design thinking over there, but they've been looking for practical ways to actually teach it. So I'm going to show them what we did here and just see where it goes from there. Also, I'm going to award you all a digital badge through Canvas, and then you can set up your Badger account and you'll have a digital badge like a certificate for design thinking now that we've completed the project. So we'll work on that during Christmas break as well. So you can be looking for that. Okay, excelente. See you guys later. Please take a 3-day-old donut with you.